This video is brought to you by patreon.com/worsttake. Get access to exclusive live streams and Discord servers, on-screen shoutouts, and early access to some videos when you join now. Help make sure that we can continue to make content like this by supporting the Patreon. Links are in the description down below.
So on my earlier video, we talked about Kevin Stefanski, potentially Andrew Berry being on the hot seat. And I think those conversations are more than fair at this point. And honestly, if they don't come out of Pittsburgh a winner, it's going to be tough for them. But talked about that at length in an earlier video. Go check that out if you haven't. Let's talk about the special teams. Because being able to fly under the radar during this very disappointing season is the absolute unmitigated failure of Bubba Ventrone individually and then Dustin Hopkins. Like, Dustin Hopkins was having an awful year already. Like, he was already not good. He put the cherry on top of it in this game. He missed 2 field goals for this team. One of them was a 28-yard field goal that he got to try twice. And then on Bubba Ventrone's side, almost gave up another punt return touchdown. I get it. The Browns have had injuries. I get it. The Browns have had to move players around at the back. It's not an easy job for Bubba Ventrone. I understand it's not been easy for Dustin Hopkins all the time, right? All these field goals that he has missed are not gimmies. But the thing is that the job is not easy. You keep your job in the NFL and get paid well to do your job in the NFL because you're good at doing a job that's difficult. If the job were easy, everybody be able to do it. We wouldn't watch it. But it's difficult. And the fact is that Bubba Ventrone has absolutely failed at doing that job. He stinks as a special teams coordinator. And keep in mind, I'm not one of these people who are going to blame the special teams coordinator for like missed field goals or bad punts or bad kickoffs. I'm not just blaming random things on Bubba Ventrone. I'm looking at specifically what Bubba Ventrone is responsible for. And everything he's responsible for stinks. Stinks, and it stunk the whole year. Right? We go back. Remember that missed, was it a fumbled kickoff that we didn't get because Dustin Hopkins runs past the 50? And it's like, oh, Bubba Ventrone didn't have it. Now, I was like willing to cut him slack when that happened because I'm like, oh, I don't think that's something they should call every time. But that's still something that falls on Bubba Ventrone. You look at how they handle the kickoffs. They still look unprepared for every kickoff strategy that teams throw at them, right? The Saints were throwing this low kickoff strategy at them, and they had no idea how to counter it. You had poor Jerome Ford out there not knowing if he had to touch the ball or didn't touch the ball. They just look woefully unprepared when they're returning kicks. Punt return hasn't been awful. I don't think they've been terrible at punt return. But these coverage units suck. Every single one of these coverage units suck. And again, I get it. We're playing Devin Bush. He was meant to be a special teams player. I understand that the team is going through a ton of injuries, that the team has been through it. But look at how bad they are at all this. It's not justified by the injuries that you have. The truth is that Bubba Ventrone is simply not good at his job. The truth is that Dustin Hopkins is simply not good at his job right now. And the Browns signed Dustin Hopkins to an extension. It's not going to be the biggest contract in the world because it's a kicker contract, but you still have guaranteed money for a kicker. And again, kind of tells you what the Browns' mindset was coming into this season. They thought they were going to be a Super Bowl contender for the next couple of years. We're looking at rebuilding on some level, right? Getting a quarterback in the draft. Got to do that. Maybe a new coach. Definitely a new special teams coordinator. Like, this team is not in the place you thought they were going to be. And now they're at the place where they're going to maybe just cross their fingers and hope Dustin Hopkins just kicks better next season. He just had the bad luck this year. That what we're going to do? Because the solution can't be draft a kicker. We all know how drafting a kicker works. We drafted 3 different kickers. None of those guys play for the Cleveland Browns still. Drafting a kicker is a terrible idea. The only proven strategy when it comes to kickers is taking the best kicker out the UFL. That seems to work. I'm not joking. Brendan Aubrey, best kicker in the NFL right now, came from Birmingham Stallions. Best kicker in the UFL. Well, the USFL at the time. And then I think the Lions got their kicker from the Michigan Panthers, a UFL, USFL team. So that's really the strategy. If you're the Browns, it's just, okay, see who kicks well in the spring, sign that kicker, bring him in, and let him keep the job, eat the money on Dustin Hopkins. It was not the greatest idea for you to bring him in on a contract, even though it was a contract that a lot of people applauded at the time. Because, again, we thought this team was going to be in a win-now mode, but they're not in win-now mode. They're not close to a win-now mode. So that move looks more and more like a mistake. It's just rough. I don't know if you just get rid of Dustin Hopkins immediately, because usually that's what you would do when a kicker has that kind of a game. It's tough. I mean, if you look at the other assistants on the Cleveland Browns, and you know what sounds crazy, but if I explain it, it will make some sense. Ken Dorsey is the only assistant coach that is justified right now to stay in their post. You look at every other coordinator, right, and what they're in charge of, it's bad. Special teams, awful. Awful all year. It's been awful for a while. We all know where Bubba Ventrone is. You look at Jim Schwartz, not looking great, right? I'm going to talk about that a little bit more, but the effort's not there either. Offensively, I can make the argument, hey, the effort looks like it's been there offensively, especially since Deshaun went out with the Achilles injury. The production has been much better from the offense since Deshaun went out. If you're saying, hey, Ken Dorsey is not a bad offensive coordinator, Kevin Stefanski, not a bad offensive coordinator, it was just a quarterback play, you can make that argument and be right, because I think Jameis is about to eclipse Deshaun in passing yards. He already eclipsed him in passing touchdowns. 3 games into his career as the Cleveland Browns quarterback versus what Deshaun did in 6.5 games for the Cleveland Browns. So, yeah, Ken Dorsey's the only one that can sit and look around and be like, well, the offense is producing, but the offense is getting failed right now by a defense that can't hold anybody when they're not busting coverages, is just not covering tight ends, and quite honestly not playing tough football right now. And a special teams unit that's just god awful. The Cincinnati game should have been enough, right? 11 points. You lost because of that Cincinnati game. You lost that Cincinnati game because of special teams. And this week, similar result. Multiple times they gave up great field position to the New Orleans Saints. Multiple times special teams just let you down in this game. It keeps happening with special teams. That's the most egregious unit on this team. As bad as the defense can be at times, as bad as the offense has been all year, the special teams, it has no excuse to be this bad. And then you add the cherry on top that Dustin Hopkins can't make a kick to save his life right now. And yeah, Ken Dorsey's the only one that you can look at of all the offensive or all the coordinators and say, well, you can make an argument that he's doing his job. And it's not like it's an amazing argument for Ken Dorsey, but it's still an argument you can make. You can't really make that argument for Jim Schwartz when he has his DBs out here dancing every play, when they're 2-7, when Bubba Ventrone can't defend a punt or a kick return to save his life. Yeah, Ken Dorsey looks the best out of all of them, but yet Ken Dorsey's the one that we all think is most likely to be fired. What does that say about everybody else? We talked about the failures on kick return coverage, punt return of the special teams coordinator for the Cleveland Browns. We know that he stinks, or at least he's been stinking the last couple of years. This is the point I made last year. Jim Schwartz. brother, this don't look good for you either. Like, I made that whole point about Kevin, and it don't feel like guys are fighting for him. Look, offensively, you can make the argument that there's still a lot of effort there offensively, despite how bad they've been. Defensively, boy, the effort just don't seem there at all. And ain't that Jim Schwartz's whole thing? Everything that we thought we had locked up going into this season, it just fell apart in spectacular ways. And this defense that we thought we can lean on, it just fell apart. Our quarterback almost threw for 400 yards in this game. 400 yards. And because of special teams and the defense, we couldn't even come within striking distance of the New Orleans Saints at the end of this game. Everything that we thought would prop this team up. Dustin Hopkins, we were like, hey, we're going to be decent at special teams at the least. We're going to be able to make field goals. We have a kicker now. Fell apart. The progression that Deshaun Watson made in 2023 after that Baltimore game, right? We thought that would be able to prop this team up. It's collapsed. He looks like a shell of himself, and he's coming off an Achilles. It's over. It's done. There's no leaning on Watson anymore. There's no leaning on Dustin Hopkins anymore. Well, maybe this defense. Gone. The effort's not there. I have never been more disappointed in a sports team in my life than the 2024 Cleveland Browns. And I've sat through some disappointments. This is the most disappointed I've been in a team. And we're not even halfway through. Well, we're over halfway through the season, thankfully. But we're not even done with the season yet. Every week, I think there's reason for it to get better. Every week, they make me look like a fucking asshole for thinking that they could be better. I made this point with Ab in a video that's going to release about do the Browns care about their fan base. And that's the thing. You can't keep making the fans feel like assholes for caring every Sunday. And they keep making you feel like an asshole for wanting to watch. That's what they keep doing. They keep doing this. Changes are going to have to come. Maybe I wake up tomorrow, I feel differently, but as of right now, after watching this game, there's just no way that I think that changes don't have to come. And maybe the in-season change you can make is just firing Bubba Ventrone because he truly does need to be let go of at this point. But I think the changes are well past that point. I wish I could give you guys a more optimistic message about the rest of this season. All I can offer you is this. And this is something that I'm just going to continue to say. In the NFL, you're never as good as you think you are, and you're never as bad as you think you are. And as bad as the Browns are, there have been teams who have been worse in individual seasons, and then the next year, they turn it around. Whether it be because of a new head coach, whether it be because of a new coordinator, whether it be because of a new quarterback or whatever. These things happen all the time in the NFL. So yes, this 2024 season has been a disappointment, but it doesn't mean that the Browns have to be in hell in 2025, in 2026, in 2027. They're going to have ways to get themselves out of this hell that they've dug themselves in for this season. The question is, are they going to do the moves that they need to do? And what are the moves that they need to do? Because I don't know. Is firing Kevin one of those moves? Is keeping Kevin one of those moves? It can go either way. But what I do know definitively is that Bubba Ventrone has to go. Is that Dustin Hopkins, it's going to be hard to justify keeping him. Those are the two guys you have overwhelming evidence. The special teams, overwhelming evidence to know they ain't enough. But that's my thoughts. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Y'all have a great day. Have an even better night. Peace.